time is now 10:01, and I call the June 25th, 2026 Planning Board meeting to order. We have the following board members with us today: Commissioner Gerardo.
Good morning, everybody.
Commissioner Matthews.
Good morning, everyone.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Good morning.
And I'm Vice Chair Okoye. We now move forward to the business at hand for today. Please note that the deadline for the participant visit registration and for all submission of materials and exhibits was 12 noon on Tuesday before this planning board meeting. The order of cases for today's meeting is as follows. Item 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, and 5. Item 7 was moved to item 3C.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. I wanted to take a moment of personal privilege. First, if we could have a moment of silence for the victims in the earthquake in Venezuela. Thus far, there have been 164 persons who have been affected by it, who have died, and they do expect some aftershocks. So if we just have a moment of silence, Mr. Vice Chair.
Moment of silence.
Thank you. And the second item is, today is my last planning board meeting with the commission. My successor has been nominated, who must still be confirmed, but I anticipate that the confirmation will be early next week. I want to thank the residents. I want to thank the stakeholders for the privilege of having served the residents of Prince George's County and Montgomery County these past 12 or 13 years. It's been really an honor to serve as I have. The Commission is a storied organization, more than 100 years, and it has played an impactful part in Montgomery County and Prince George's County in the development of parks and recreations. You could go around the country and you won't see two counties that have a better parks program or a better recreations program. I was talking to someone the other day in Anne Arundel County, and with the person, he had previously resided in Prince George's County, and he was just shocked that when he went to Anne Arundel County, the park system was not anywhere close to either the park system that we have in Prince George's County or in Montgomery County. It's been an honor. I've worked with tremendous professionals, from the planning board, other planning board commissioners, from chairs to the people that keep our buildings clean, and I want to thank them for their service. Everyone that I've always come in contact with in this organization has always put the residents first. Residents come here at times in meetings and they don't always agree with what we do, but we're constrained by the law. I want to thank especially Elizabeth Hewlett, who I served under for a number of years. She's the one who mentored me, and she's the one who instilled in me the importance of this commission. If I have only one regret, and it is only one, is that I voted for Senate Bill 1005, which was an error of judgment on my part, for which I apologize to the staff. And I'm so glad that it didn't pass, because if it had passed with this current administration, I don't know what would happen to the commission. So remember this, you pay your taxes to the commission, and I can tell you that the taxes are used wisely. We always look out for the benefit of the residents and for the taxpayers. Again, thank you very much for giving me this time to speak to you.
Well, so I'm going to let the other commissioners speak.
If I may, Mr. Vice Chair, Commissioner Geraldo, I've served on this commission for a short while here. And I just want to say thank you for your leadership, for your transparency, for your honesty, and for coming in with good judgment week over week. So just want to say thank you, and I look forward to seeing all the great things that you continue to do, and hopefully, remaining in each other's network. But just want to thank you for these last few months of your leadership.
Thank you.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Commissioner Geraldo. Again, like Commissioner Jenkins said, we haven't had the great opportunity of knowing you for a very long time. But you've been very valuable to the planning board. You've been very valuable to everyone sitting here in this audience today. So we do appreciate your time and your loyalty to the planning board, because it is a magnificent place to be. And we do value and cherish the planning board just as you do as well. We have a lot of growing to do, and I know that hopefully as you go on, you'll still be here to assist us when needed. And we really appreciate you. So thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
And I'm going to sum it up.
Sorry about that. I want to get my mic to work. So I did want to take an opportunity to thank you just for being who you are, because you have really stood up for this entire commission. And I will say, from the planning department as well as the Department of Parks and Recreation, we see that, we notice that, and we want to say thank you right now. This is really, you have done such a fantastic job. I started here in my various roles in January of 2018, and from day one, you have been there. You've been a true rock, and I could not have imagined anyone better to be in this role. So I really want to say thank you for being a friend to us, for being an advocate for us, and being there and a true leader for us. And I really appreciate you for everything that you've done. And I'm really going to miss you in our South County conversations that we have along 210.
Well, I'll still be advocating.
Yeah.
Well, I know if I give everybody room to get up for here and see, I'm sure everybody's going to step up and speak how goodness and how great a commissioner you have been. I remember my very first day when I walked in at the parking lot. I saw you grabbing your bag. You recall that? I had to come carry your bag because I knew. He said, no, let me carry. I said, no, I got to lift your bag. It was an honor to carry your booklet. And it's sad to see that you are taking a vow, but I know that I speak on behalf of all the members of the Prince George's County Planning Board to say we appreciate you. We truly, truly, truly acknowledge all you have poured into this commission. And to that we say goodwill to the rest of your service, and you have promised us in front of everybody here that you won't be far.
I won't be far.
Thank you.
I still live
And
in South
can
County.
we give a hand of applause to the While we didn't see that coming, we still have the first item on the agenda. And in line with that is a resolution of appreciation for another great staff of the commission, Robert E. Clark. Is Clark in the room? All right, Robert E. Clark III is retiring with 35 years of service within, yes. Robert, do you want to please come to the mic? Robert E. Clark III is retiring with 35 years of service within the Prince George's County Planning Board, Office of the Chairman. Robert served as the budget coordinator, where he oversaw financial management, purchasing, contracting functions, and conducted research, data analysis, and long-term forecasting to manage the operating and capital budget for Commissioner's Office. Robert also managed the MSc PPC Collegiate Internship Program for more than 30 years, where he led the annual efforts to recruit, hire, and onboard college students from colleges and universities across the nation for 12-week full-time paid internships. He exposed more than 250 undergraduate and graduate students to careers in community planning, historic preservation, public affairs, research, transportation, urban planning, and more. Robert also extended his expertise to oversee special projects here at the Commission, including launching the state-sponsored House Keys for Employees program, forming and leading the MNC PPC Sustainability Work Group. Robert, we thank you for your commitment to the Commission, the planning board leaders, past and present, and the mentorship and development of young professionals who launch their careers through the collegiate internship program. We extend the best wishes for your retirement, and I'd like to also add and thank you for onboarding me, because I remember the day, just like I carried Gerardo's bag. My very first day I came into your office, you made sure that I had everything I needed to jumpstart real quickly. You got me my iPad and my computers and my printers and all of that. And you kept encouraging me, because it was confusing at the first time. You said, hang in there, Billy, you'll be okay. I'd like to move a motion that we deny him to this. Do we have anybody second? You know, once we second it, you ain't going nowhere, right? But I'd like to thank you sincerely.
Thank you.
For this very many years. 35 years is not a lot, it's not a joke. So thank you, and what you have done, it's evidential here in this commission. So I'll let other commissioners chime.
Yeah, I would like to move approval of the resolution recognizing Mr. Clark for all his years of service to the commission, and he onboarded me as well.
I enthusiastically second.
All right, we have a motion, but, would you like to say a word?
Is the mic on?
Yeah.
I would just like to say that 35 years is a very long time. I've had the pleasure of serving, I think, 6 separate chairs, going back to John Rose, Betty Hewlett, and Parker, Peter, and Mr. Barnes, and it's just a fantastic organization. It truly is. None like it. I've worked in several places along the way, but there's just something special about this organization. I hope it remains whole, because that's just the way I like to see it. I'm not really into talking about myself too much, but to Mr. Giraldo, I respect your comments, because me and you go back, 15 years or so, and I appreciate what you said earlier. And that's really all I have to say, and I want to thank everyone. Fantastic organization. I love the people here. And there will definitely be a void. I have to rediscover myself on the outside. But, me and my wife, she's retired after 37 years at National Institutes of Health. So together we're going to figure out what we're going to do. But anyway, I just want to thank everybody here. I got a lot of friends here, Parks and Rec, Planning Department, of course, the Chairman's office. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
We have a motion. Can we come up for photo session? we had Gerardo, can we do one with Gerardo?
The director? Is that?
Yeah, with Gerardo.
Oh.
All right, thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Gerardo and a second by Commissioner Jenkins. I will now call the roll. Commissioner Gerardo,
I vote aye.
Commissioner Jenkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews,
How about I?
and I vote aye as well, and the ayes have it. The next item on the agenda is item number 2, draft minutes of June 18, 2026. We'll look for a motion to approve the minutes.
Mr. Vice Chair, I move that we adopt the minutes of the June 18th, 2026 meeting.
A second?
We have a motion by Commissioner Gerardo and a second by Commissioner Jenkins. I'll now call the roll. Commissioner Gerardo,
I vote aye.
Commissioner Jenkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews,
How about I?
and I vote aye as well. The next item is item 3C,
It's just
Information Management Division, Planning Department, addressing the street naming procedures briefing. James and Robert.
Good morning, Vice Chair Okoye and members of the Planning Board. I'm Jim Canistra, Division Chief of the Information Management Division of the Prince George's County Planning Department. Before I get started, I too would like to extend my thanks to Commissioner Giraldo. We worked together particularly on some of the data, technology, and census initiatives for the 2020 census. And so on behalf of us in the Information Technology Group, I want to thank you for your work and support. And then certainly I'd also like to congratulate Robert Clark on his retirement and wish him the best as well. I'm joined by my colleagues, GIS Supervisor Rob Gellner and GIS Specialist and Addressing Coordinator Connor Bell. And I'm here today really to provide a briefing on the department's addressing activities and program. We expect to be back to you in September sometime with a request for the board to adopt an updated set of addressing procedures. Our purpose today is to give you some background information to support your review in September. Next slide, please. The Maryland Land Use Code, Section 20-202, provides the Planning Board with the authority to assign street names and house numbers for all of Prince George's County, except for the city of Laurel as it existed in 2013. This authority has generally been delegated to the Planning Department, and now it's under my division. Next slide. The Information Management Division maintains over 250 data sets. The street name and address information is among the most important data sets that we produce and maintain. The addressing functions we perform include address assignment, as you review final plats and development activity applications. The addresses that are designated on those documents are the responsibility of us. We also perform address maintenance. We have over 400,000 address points in our GIS database and maintain an inventory of over 8,400 street names throughout the county. We also validate addresses for development permits submitted to us by DPI, and we support address research and change management. Next slide. All of these activities are critically important. They allow for the creation of a uniform addressing system throughout the county. This uniformity allows for businesses and public services to be provided in a safe and efficient manner. The Prince George's County Emergency Operations Center gets approximately 1.4 million calls a year that require the active dispatch by police, fire, or emergency response. All of those all of the dispatches that are involved in those activities are based on locations that we have provided in our address points. They're often referred to as public safety address points by the 911 group. The data also supports legal postings and notifications, routing, and other types of analysis function as well. On a side note, our address team corrected 45,000 of the Census Bureau's addresses in its master address file prior to the 2020 census. This work greatly increased the response rate throughout the county for the 2020 census. Next slide. Our work program is consistent and grows as the county grows. We have dashboards and tools in place for all parts of the address program to make sure that our activities are performed in a timely manner. It's critically important they be done efficiently and timely, particularly for the emergency response and the permit review functions. Next slide. I don't have time today to cover the history of addressing in the county, but we do have on our website a very interesting historical summary. The most important point is that the state provided the Maryland National Capital Park and Planning Commission with this authority in 1937. Prior to that time, all the municipalities did their own addressing. And I think we can all imagine how confusing it would be if today all 27 municipalities throughout the county were each responsible for their own addressing and emergency dispatch. After the authority was provided, there was a long process of normalizing addresses. In 1977, the addressing regulations were adopted. It wasn't until about 2020 or so that the address points were then converted from Mylar maps to a GIS database. We're constantly trying to improve this data. Last year, for example, we had a program to improve address locations in shopping centers and warehouse areas where it was particularly problematic for dispatching public safety services. Next slide. In addition to DPI and the County 911, the addressing program also involves a lot of interagency coordination. We work with the State Department of Assessments and Taxation, all the municipalities, the post office, and when we assign addresses or make corrections to an address in our database, we have over 20 or so organizations that we provide this information to. We also make this data available to others through our open data portal, so it's used by Google Maps, Waze, Apple Maps, OpenStreetMap, and other web mapping types of organizations. I will say that although we make this information available, it's not always used by everyone in the same manner. So periodically we get questions about why something is one way in one database and one way in another. I think we've all experienced times when you look at an address in Google and it doesn't seem to match up with the house number or the address that you think that it might be. Over the past several years, next slide please. We've been working on researching best practices and updating our internal working documents. We've also drafted an updated policy document that's currently under legal review. Next slide. These complementary documents support our internal addressing operations, improve efficiency, and reduce confusion by our constituents and allow for a more effective and predictable addressing program. Next slide. Lastly, as I mentioned, we're working with the legal team to review the documents, review the guidelines. We expect to be back in September with an updated draft. Hopefully this presentation will provide the board with some of the necessary background information so that when you get the updated guidelines, you'll have the necessary context to review and approve them. And the last thing I'll say about the updated guidelines and procedures, they're really a go-forward type of document. Any changes that are made will only affect addresses that are assigned on a go-forward basis, so there won't be any retroactive corrections that have to be done. So a lot of the constituents and public, it will have no bearing on their activities and operations. With that, open to any questions that you may have.
None.
I see none. I just want to thank you for your hard work and all the presentation, thoughtfully done, and I appreciate you guys. And thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We'll move forward to the consent agenda. Is there anyone who wishes to oppose the staff recommendation on the consent agenda item? Is there any board member who wishes to discuss these items? I see none. We'll look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Vice Chair, after consideration of the record for the items on the consent agenda, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and approve item 4B.
A second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gerardo and a second by Commissioner Matthews. I will now call the roll. Commissioner Gerardo.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews.
I vote aye.
And I vote aye as well. And the ayes have it. We'll now move to the regular agenda items. The first item on the agenda is item 6. Item 6 was design plan SDP-20-25-0014, Oakwood Preserve. I will now call the opening before the hearing staff. We have the hearing matter. There's a continuous request for Right, so I will now have the hearing. Before the hearing from staff, we have a hearing matter. There's a continuous request from a citizen that has signed up to speak. First, we'll hear from the citizen, Mr. Greg Smith. Mr. Greg?
No. Mr. Smith is presenting virtually.
Okay. Mr. Smith, are you online?
Vice Chair Okoye, I do see Mr. Smith online with his hand raised. He needs to unmute in order to speak, perhaps. However, Mr. Smith, if you can hear us, take it away.
I see it. I see that here. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think none of the relevant documents have been made available through the DART system, which is the primary public-facing database that the public, is supposed to be able to rely on to track what's going on with a project that may affect the community. So that's one point of concern. The second point of concern is that the planning department and the planning board made available a huge number of documents only 2 weeks before the hearing, a direct notice to entitled parties. So unless a member of the public knew that links to those documents would be provided on the agenda, and basically only on the agenda posted to the planning board's website, they would never know that the planning board had published more than 700 pages and 200 megabytes of relevant documents, many of which are technical in nature, legal in nature, many of which are large format documents. So that's a second concern. The primary purpose of this hearing today is to allow the public and the staff and the applicant to build a robust and full evidentiary record. And for the planning board to do that, to enable informed public comment to help build that record so that the planning board can make a fully informed decision. That's not happening through this process. And I know the staff works very hard. I know they did their best to post this material 2 weeks before the hearing. But unless the public knows the process and knows to look at those places, and even if the public did, 700 pages, much of which is technical and legal, being posted in only one place without direct notice, can't be adequate. It does not support, and in fact, it undermines informed public comment and informed decision-making by the planning board. So that's a second major concern. If you want to make informed decisions, you need to enable and support informed public comment through active transparency. Active transparency. And the DART system has been known to be highly defective since its soft launch July of last year. Literally, there's only one document available through the DART system that's relevant to this case, at least under the case name and number. And I actually searched, I submitted additional comments, supplemental comments on Tuesday afternoon, because I went through DART and I took the relevant screenshots. The only document, first of all, when I searched for Oak Brook Preserve, nothing came up. There were no results. When I searched for the case number, this specific design plan did come up, but the only document posted there was an MNC PPC summary report. I think it was 1 page that provided no relevant information to inform public comment and planning board decision making. So that's another concern right there. We're months into the use of DART, and it's still defective. You get incomplete, obsolete, inaccurate information. The other thing is, I went ahead and downloaded the checklist for specific design plans. There were supposed to be ethics affidavits in the record. When I searched the files that were made available through the links in the agenda, I didn't find, I searched for the word affidavit and nothing came up. So that's another concern. There's no way for the public to ascertain, looking at these documents as far as I do on a quick search, whether the applicant followed the rules when it comes to public notice for accept application and hearing. Those should be in the record. These are very important procedural and ethical points, and the relevant documents are not available in the record that's been made available to date. So for those reasons and others, if you want to make an informed decision, and if you want to convene a fair and robust evidentiary hearing, I ask you to continue this case by 60 days. You could do that and still fall within the 140-day deadline that would result if you extend for a second 70 days. So that's the basis of my request. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Before we hear from the applicant's attorney, let me just say that is not a legal requirement. Secondly, 2 weeks posting is timely. And thirdly, the hearing was provided adequately. So you might want to check the records again. Next, we'll hear from applicant's attorney.
Good morning, Vice Chair Okoye, members of the Planning Board. For the record, my name is Robert Antonetti with the law firm of Shipley & Horn here on behalf of the applicant. We are in receipt of Mr. Smith's request, and I would echo some of the comments just stated. Posting on DARTs is not a requirement for the conduct of a hearing. The record is complete. I'm old enough now to remember pre-DARTs, pre-online postings. I used to have to go down physically and go through the files and make copies and beg people to make copies for me in order to have items available because everything was in paper. Things have greatly, exponentially improved with the access to information. As stated, the staff report was posted 2 weeks in advance as required online. The documents in the backup were posted online 2 weeks in advance, so even though that part isn't even a requirement, but it was done and it was available. Signs were also posted 30 days in advance. Mailing to all adjacent owners were sent out as required. State ethics affidavits were submitted. Those are typically collected and then ultimately submitted to the clerk of the council because those affidavits deal with the county council or district council and them taking action and having those affidavits 30 days before that action. So, in sum, I think all the procedural requirements have been met. While I can appreciate Mr. Smith's systemic comments about the function of DARTs, all legal requirements have been met here. And in efforts of meeting fairness and transparency, the applicant has been working for months to get to this very important day. And they've brought a team of 7 experts here, all with the understanding that all the requirements for holding this hearing have been met. So in terms of fairness and transparency, in terms of having the opportunity to participate publicly here, I think we're in a position to move forward. So I would greatly urge your denial of this continuance request, and I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Tonetti. Board members, any deliberation, and if not, what's your pleasure? What's your name, sir?
Okay. My name is Jeffrey Collins. And
Jeffrey
Collins.
All right. I will get to you. We need to address this before we get to your comment. Is that okay?
Say that again, please.
I said we'll get back to you. We'll get to you when it's your turn to speak.
I understand. I'm asking to respond to the Oakwood Preserve's attorney.
Okay.
Okay.
You got 1 minute.
Question: why do I have 1 minute when councilor spoke for several minutes?
I'm still going to give you time to speak. This is not, you're not using up your time yet.
I understand, sir, but this gentleman had the opportunity to speak for more than 1 minute. I ask if I exceed 1 minute that I'm able to convey the thoughts of my Route 202 Neighborhood Coalition relative to Mr. Smith's request.
Allow him to speak for a moment.
Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
All right, thank you. All right, my name is Jeffrey Collins. I lead the Route 202 Neighborhood Coalition, and the coalition advocates for sustainable community-centric development along the Route 202 corridor, outside the Beltway, into the town of Upper Marlboro. This hearing today about Oakwood Preserve is one that has essentially lasted now for about 20 plus years, okay, with the original approval of the application for the Forest Hills, the former Forest Hills subdivision by the District Council and the Planning Board. With that said, I'm semi-retired. I work as a consultant. We have a working class, upper middle class, working class community along
Mr. Collins
the
and
202 corridor.
Vice Chair Okoye, I apologize for interrupting you. Just as a reminder, at this time, what's on the floor is the continuance.
I
So
understand.
if-
I'm speaking to that.
Okay.
I am speaking to that. And to the point, the coalition supports Mr. Smith's request for the continuance. More time is needed in order for neighbors and residents living along the 202 corridor to review this substantive information as provided by the planning department, so that we can respond accordingly on behalf of our residents.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So planning board, any deliberation? If not, what's your pleasure?
So, Mr. Vice Chair, in view of the fact that it appears that all of the legal and procedural requirements have been met, and that the posting was done, which is a 30-day posting, as well as the staff report having been posted 2 weeks in advance. I move that we deny the continuance request.
A second.
All right. All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Gerardo and a second by Commissioner Matthews to deny that. I'll now call the roll. Commissioner Gerardo?
I vote aye.
Commissioner Matthews?
I vote aye.
Commissioner Jenkins?
But I,
And I vote aye as well. We'll now hear from staff who will present this item. I open the staff hearing. Staff main song.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Vice Chair and members of the Planning Board. For the record, I'm Meng San with the Urban Design section. Item number 6 is Specific Design Plan SCP-2025-0014 for Oakwood Preserve. The specific design plan is for development of 112 single-family detached dwelling units with associated infrastructure improvements. As a matter of housekeeping, prior to the Tuesday noon deadline, the applicant submitted Applicant Exhibit 1, which provides a colored illustrative site plan for the project. The applicant also submitted a list of experts' resumes, which is Applicant Exhibit 2 to 8. Also submitted was Opponent Exhibit 1, received from Ms. Judy Hartman, a homeowner in the vicinity of the proposed development. The applicant expressed concerns about increased traffic, flooding, and loss of open space over the past 20 years in the area. Ms. Hartman suggests mitigating traffic and preserving the ecosystem for future generations. Items of concern that are relevant to subject SCP will be addressed during this presentation. Additionally, Opponent Exhibit 2 was received from Mr. Greg Smith. The exhibit requests the Planning Board consider postponing the hearing, and the Board has addressed this request as a primary matter. Next slide, please. The site, outlined in red, is located in Planning Area 79 and Council District 6. Next slide, please. The subject property is located along the east and west sides of MT202, approximately 2,200 feet south of Kent Drive. Next slide, please. The subject property is within the Legacy Comprehensive Design Zone. However, this STP is being reviewed in accordance with the prior zoning ordinance. Under the prior zoning ordinance, the property is subject to the standards of the Residential Low Development Zone. The subject property is bounded to the north by the Residential Estate Zone, formerly the Residential Estate Zone. To the southwest by the Legacy Comprehensive Design LCD Zone, formerly the Residential Urban Development Zone. To the east by the LCD Zone, formerly the Residential Suburban Development Zone. To the south by the Residential Rural and RE Zone, formerly the Residential Rural Residential and RE Zone. Next slide, please. The subject property outlined in purple has moderate to steep slopes. The property also includes existing streams, wetlands, and a 100-year floodplain. Next slide, please. This map shows adjacent master plan right-of-way. The site outlined in blue is bisected by the existing and future MD202 into east and west development paths. The existing MD202 is a primary road highlighted in pink, and future MD202 is an expressway highlighted in purple. Next slide, please. The subject property outlined in blue is bounded to the north, south, and west by single-family detached dwellings and wooded areas. To the east by wooded area in Beech Tree subdivision. Next slide, please. The proposed SCP consists of development of 112 single-family detached lots with 9 single-family detached architectural models, providing a variety of sizes and architecture. The development includes one vehicular access point from the east and west development paths to existing MD202. Within the development, public roads form the primary vehicular circulation of the site. Crosswalks and 5-foot wide sidewalks on both sides of the road form the pedestrian circulation for the site. Staff note that the transportation adequacy was reviewed with preliminary plan of subdivision 4-03071 approved in 2004, and Planning Board found transportation facilities are adequate to serve the proposed development subject to a condition requiring a contribution to SHA for certain road improvements. The applicant will have to comply with this condition prior to issuance of building permits. As discussed in the technical staff report on page 17, the adequate findings made with the preliminary plan of subdivision meet the SDP finding that the development will be adequately served within a reasonable period of time with existing or programmed public facilities. Staff would also like to note that the subject SDP is to develop a residential community on a lotting pattern that has been approved by the preliminary plan of subdivision. The lotting pattern and street network shown on the submitted SDP are in conformance with the plans recorded for the Forestville subdivision in 2008, with a minor revision which is proposed for the dedication of additional right-of-way that does not affect any of the single-family lots. Out of the total size of 167 acres, approximately 105 acres of land, or approximately 62%, has been dedicated to MNCPC for public park use, as required by preliminary plan. Next slide, please. The landscape plan demonstrates conformance with the 2010 Prince George County Landscape Manual. Landscape plan findings are made on page 24 of staff report. In response to citizen suggestions about tree stripes along MD-202, the landscape manual requires buffering along MD-202. The required planting and schedules are shown on sheets 4 to 6 of the landscape plan, which demonstrate conformance to this requirement. Additionally, landscape manual states that the landscape design should include a diversity of native plants. The landscape plan complies with this requirement. The landscape plan also shows the tree canopy coverage requirement will be met on site through a combination of woodland preservation and proposed landscape trees. Next slide, please. This slide shows Type 2 tree conservation plan. Woodland conservation findings are made on page 24 of staff report. Based on the proposed woodland clearing, the woodland conservation requirement is proposed to be met by on-site preservation, which provides approximately 10 more acres of woodland than required. Regarding regulated environmental features as indicated in staff report page 28 to page 29, staff find that regulated features have been preserved and restored to the maximum extent possible. With respect to community concerns regarding flooding, stormwater management is required and approved by DEPA. The applicant submitted an approved stormwater management concept plan, which meets the required finding that adequate provision has been made for draining surface water. No adverse effects are caused on either the subject property or adjacent property. Next slide, please. The applicant proposed 9 architectural models for single-family detached homes. Each model has multiple elevation options. The residential elevations offer a variety of material and architectural elements. Enhanced elevations have been provided for the high visibility lots. This slide shows the Colorado model. Next slide, please. This slide shows the Donovan model. Next slide, please. This slide shows the Hancock model. Next slide, please. This slide shows the Harmon model. Next slide, please. This slide shows the Hemingway model. Next slide, please. This slide shows Melody model. Next slide, please. This slide shows Priestley model. Next slide, please. This slide shows Princeton model. Next slide, please. This slide shows Yorktown model. Next slide, please. So this slide is the proposed signage. The subject SDP includes 4 freestanding signs at the entrance, positioned at the 4 corners of the intersections of MD-202 and entrance road to the community. The 4 freestanding signs have the same dimensions, design, and material and details. Staff find that the proposed number, design, and location of the signs are appropriate to provide wayfinding for the development. Next slide, please. So to conclude, based on the evaluation and analysis, urban design staff recommend that the planning board adopt the findings of the staff report and approve specific design plan SDP-2025-0014 and type 2 tree conservation plan TCP2-2026-0037 for Oak Wood Preserve, subject to the recommended conditions of approval within the technical staff report. This concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, staff. Thank you for that detailed report. Do we have any questions for the planning board?
I have none.
I see none. Let's hear from the applicant's attorney.
Before we hear from Mr. Antonetti, this is an evidentiary hearing, so all those intending to speak on this matter, please stand so that you may be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm that you will tell the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Yep.
Great. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning again, Mr. Vice Chair, members of the Planning Board. For the record, Robert Antonetti, the law firm of Shipley and Horn. With me today is our senior land planner with Shipley and Horn, Mr. John Ferrante, and together we're pleased to represent the applicant in this specific design plan application, Richmond American Homes of Maryland, Inc. Today we have representatives of the development team with us, and if you could raise your hand when I call your name. Mr. Marwan Shaheen with the applicant, Mr. Brian Folk and Dan Schlegel with Dewberry Civil Engineers. We have Mr. Mike Lenhart, Lenhart Traffic Consulting, Inc. We have Ms. Erica Eversole with Phoenix Noise and Vibration, and Mr. Andrea Vecchiati with Phoenix. We have Mr. Andres Villarreal with GTA for our geotech. And we have Mr. Pat Ricker, Development Consultant on the project. I'd be remiss if I didn't take a moment to thank Commissioner Giraldo for his years and years of service. He has been just a beacon of professionalism throughout his years. He's always been very kind, although we don't always agree on matters. He's always been fair and has been a wonderful person to appear before for these many years. One of the sharpest dressed persons you'll ever meet. You may not know, or you may know that Mr. Giraldo has also been a very active attorney in Prince George's County for many years. And he, as attorneys, as professionals, one of our obligations is to engage the public, find ways to serve, to give back. Commissioner Giraldo has done that in spades. He has led the Pro Bono Committee for many years on the Prince George's County Bar Association, has won awards for that. And just me personally, as a professional, he's been a wonderful example to follow, and I hope to live up to his standards that he's set for all of us through his generous example of time and service. Before I begin into the case in chief, I'd like to thank Ms. Sun for her presentation. It's been very thorough and professional. And she's just a wonderful person to work with at the commission, so I do thank her for her time. As you heard today, this project has a significant and lengthy entitlement history. Previously, this project, and I appreciate indulgence on this, but it should be stated on the record. This project has obtained the four main entitlements that are required under the LCD zone or the former RL zone. That includes a basic plan, a comprehensive design plan, a preliminary plan of subdivision, and a specific design plan. The original basic plan was approved in 1994 and approved 153 units, a maximum density of 153 units. CDP 9901 was approved by the District Council on March 24, 2003 for 116 units. Preliminary Plan 4-03071 was approved by the Planning Board on January 15, 2004 for, again, 115 units. SDP 0414 was approved by the Planning Board in December of 2005 for 112 units. Record plats were approved and recorded for this property. They were approved by the Planning Board on February 7, 2008. And as was stated by Ms. Sun, I just want to emphasize it, over 105 acres of this site were dedicated to the Commission as part of their contribution to the park system. And that happened basically concurrently with the platting of these lots, which are of record, and the current owner has been paying taxes on since 2008 and has established the lotting and paper street pattern. In April of 2021, a basic plan amendment was approved by the District Council On February 2nd, 2023, the Planning Board approved a reconsideration request for preliminary plan 4-03071 regarding trail condition for the Western Branch Trail. On February 27, 2023, the District Council approved a revision of CDP 9901 to revise, again, the conditions related to the Western Branch Trail. And you may be asking, with all of these 8 entitlement approvals, why are we here today? Well, the SDP that was previously approved for 112 units in December of 2005 expired. That SDP showed architecture and other landscaping details, but that has a fuse. It's only good for 6 years. So due to the downturn in the economy and other factors that the current owner had, it fell out of good standing. So now we're here basically submitting a new SDP with architecture for our client, but it's essentially a reapproval of the SDP that was done previously for the lots that have already been platted. As you've seen in the staff report, we're proposing 9 single-family detached architectural models. Detached only. These are all single-family dwellings. The platted lots range anywhere, I think, above 10,000 square feet up to 40,000 square feet. So these are attractively sized lots. The square footage of these units, these 9 models, the smallest is 2328. That's the base square footage on the floors above grade. And they go all the way up to 4,391 finished square feet. They come, depending on the model, 2 to 3 car garages, depending on the elevations you pick. The models are very attractive. They incorporate many architectural features such as gables, columns, enhanced windows, trims, porches, shutters, band boards, louvered vents, things of that nature. And that's not an exhaustive list. That's just examples of some things that are included. They include quality materials, combinations of stone, brick, vertical and horizontal siding, and shaped vinyl siding, all to create a very attractive elements that lead to a clean and modern design, which is what the market requests these days, and our client is very excited about bringing to market. Recreational facilities were agreed to pursuant to our recorded private recreational facilities agreement. They include the provision of 2 private recreational areas, including one on each side. This is on either side of Maryland 202. So each side has basically a recreational area, including playground equipment, benches, trash receptacles, etc. You may hear some comments today, and I've read some in the background, backup material that was submitted, that there's comments about traffic on Maryland 202 and the impact of this project. In this regard, I want to emphasize a few things. One, I guess, as I mentioned, this project already has an approved preliminary plan of subdivision and recorded final plat. The preliminary plan is the point where you test for adequate public facilities, and conditions were assigned to this project as part of that review. In fact, transportation was looked at holistically from basic plan, CDP, and preliminary plan. Again, we are less than the density approved in the preliminary plan. We're proposing 112 versus 115 lots. But nonetheless, certificate of adequacy pursuant to section 244503A1 of the current subdivision regulations granted an automatic certificate of adequacy for this project, demonstrating that adequacy was found and provided that we're in conformance with our preliminary plan, will be maintained for this site as we move forward through this application, which is the SDP phase. This same project, again, because it has a preliminary plan and a recorded plat of subdivision, has vested vehicle trips, and they are considered background development under the transportation guidelines. So what does that mean? That means when other applications after this project, after the preliminary plan was approved, move forward, the trips that were included in that for this project have to be included as background in subsequent applications. So it's a cumulative traffic impact that needs to be studied by others when anybody else had brought within the study area another application generating vehicle trips. They have to include us as background in their transportation study. There's some comments that were posted in background dealing with the speed of Maryland 202. That is beyond the limits of this SDP review. But we certainly, as future builders on this property, we certainly would encourage speed controls and things that would make sure that this arterial roadway, because 202 is an arterial, that the posted speed is adhered to, because we certainly want that for our future residents, including the quality of life of the residents that are out there today. We should note that this project will include noise barriers along Maryland 202 to mitigate any noise emanating from the road in conformance with county requirements. The wall will sit on top of an earthen berm. It will be between 5 feet to around 11 feet or so. And again, it's meant to meet the county outdoor and indoor noise requirements that are requirements for development within the county. There's also up to a 75-foot landscape buffer, which Sun mentioned in her presentation in chief, which will be installed along Maryland 202 per the landscape manual and will utilize all native plantings. There's questions about the environment. There may be some from the board, but certainly some in the comments in the backup. This project is preserving, as you heard, an enormous amount of wooded area on its total site area. Out of the 167.7 acre gross tract area, roughly 104.3 acres, or 62% of this site, will be in a wooded condition. That's astonishing and that's not on lot. That is outside of the lots that are already platted and that will be developed. That's not including the landscaping on those lots, et cetera. These are wooded condition elements that will remain for this property for the benefit of the community and surrounding communities. With regards to comments made about flooding concerns, as you heard, the project does have an approved site development concept plan from DPI that was designed to meet all applicable county and state requirements regarding environmental site design. So there will be stormwater management controls, and they've all been conceptually vetted through the site development concept plan and will be implemented through technical design and review in accordance with the strict county and state requirements for stormwater management and to relieve any potential flooding. In sum, this application really is not a request to change any of the rules of the system. It's meant to apply them. The proposed residential development in this application is consistent with all prior entitlements and has been designed to comply with all applicable zoning, environmental, and planning requirements. Now, some opposition is understandable whenever growth is proposed, and the board's decision needs to be built on zoning ordinance criteria and the factual record. And here the factual record is strong. There's been an incredible entitlement history supporting the development of this site. We are at the last entitlement stage, short of permits, to essentially reapprove architecture for an STP because the prior STP had expired and it had included different architecture. That being said, again, this application meets all requirements of the zoning ordinance, and we agree with the findings in the staff report and the recommended conditions of approval. And for these reasons, we respectfully request that the board approve SDP-2025-0014. We do thank you for your consideration of this request. I'll reserve any appropriate time for rebuttal, and our development team is here to answer any questions that the board may have. And thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Robert. Do you have any questions from the attorney?
Just one. I know with all of the new development, have you thought about schools? The surrounding schools, the classrooms are already overrun. So are there any more schools going to be developed overcrowded for the overcrowded classrooms? So I think that's important. It's a great community, but I think the schools definitely need to have some schools.
Thank you. And so with regards to schools, we believe that the schools are within capacity, the state rated capacity. But that being said, it should be pointed that each unit here is going to pay a school surcharge and a public safety and mental health surcharge. And I think combined per unit at permit, I believe it's approximately $30,000 a unit that goes towards funding those items. The majority of that goes to schools. So there will be a significant financial contribution as required by law through the surcharge payment. This project itself isn't providing a new school or school site, but they will be making the contribution towards that. But schools are important. I went to school down the street at a private school. My mother taught in the school systems public school system for many years. We certainly are supportive of schools, and that will certainly, a strong school system will support the future residents of this community, which is what the applicant wants. So thank you for your comment.
Any other question?
Yeah, just, Mr. Antonetti, with regards to the recreation, we're trying to make it as accessible to all. So will the recreation activities be such that they can be handled by physically challenged children?
If just your indulgence, I can ask the consultant team 1 second, just to make sure that. The answer is yes.
Okay. The next thing is, I have to always worry about our furry friends. So I know that there's a lot of greenery, but will you put waste stations for the dogs?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. More questions?
One quick question. Just giving some of the historical context here, and thinking about timeline and any considerations for moving forward. Are we in a good space here to go forward?
Yes, we are. We're very excited to go forward. If all goes well, we have to obtain our permits. We're hopeful to obtain the initial site development permit in late fall of this year.
Great.
And then moving forward, obtaining the appropriate building permits per unit. We think an absorption would be somewhere between 3 to 4 sales per month. And this is 112 units, so I didn't do the math, but spread that over time. But we're excited to bring this product to market and move forward this year. Thank you.
All right, I see no other question. I see no other question. We'll now take testimony from those who have signed up to speak on this item. First on the list is Geoffrey Collins. Mr. Collins.
Apologies.
No worries.
Okay. My name is Jeffrey Collins. I serve as the coordinator of the Route 202 Neighborhood Coalition. We advocate for smart growth policies, and we fight ill-advised
Mr.
growth.
Collins, just as you continue, I want to let you that you do have 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you, sir. And development. Let me state to you that we understand that the board's made a decision, relative to the continuance, and we understand that. For the record, we are concerned also about the grandfathering provisions, that have been wrapped into this application. Some of those provisions that were approved go back many, many years. And so we're seeing things have changed, and in many ways have gotten or become worse. And so what we're requesting as a coalition is that the staff produce a report on the cumulative impacts of these studies. We're here, there's several of my neighbors who are here participating. We're common folks, working class, upper middle class folks. And we're doing more with less in participating in this, this hearing today. We don't have time to present with 6 or 7 other professionals who are paid to do their job. So we're here talking in a straightforward way. Having said that, our next presenter from the coalition is going to focus in on the environment relative to wildlife and traffic concerns. My main focus at this point is to state that we're again asking the planning board to prioritize transparency, public safety, and long-term environmental stewardship over an expedited approval process. We're concerned about the cumulative impacts that this development will have on our community. And frankly, okay, it's very likely that you're going to approve this, this application because we're near the end. I see that Mr. Okoye has stated no, not necessarily. But what we're saying as well is that you have to look at the bigger picture with development along the 202 corridor. Oakwood preserves 168 acres, 112 homes, even with the 100+ acres that will be cordoned off for environmental purposes. We have great concerns about the increased incidence of flooding going into the town of Upper Marlboro. Keeping in mind that over the course of the last 25 years, there have been dozens of floods going into the town of Upper Marlboro, and cutting away woodlands, okay, is going to exacerbate that situation. January 2025, there were 2 vehicles that were stranded on the bridge on Water Street, right by the county courthouse. Let me say to you finally, 1/3 of a mile south of the Oakwood Preserve, Route 202, there's a plan that's been floated for many years now by way of Total Civil Construction owner Greg Dewey's, okay, who is proposing a major 63-acre industrial expansion plan. And our coalition's been working to stop the rezoning of the necessary acreage to industrial to put a permanent stop to that proposal. With the approval of the application for Oakwood Preserve, and given that Total Civil's plan is approved in time, it will make a bad situation worse relative to traffic, but more importantly, relative to the environmental factors with flooding and the way of quality and life for residents living along the 202 corridor, from Watkins Park Drive all the way into the town of Upper Marlboro, okay, would be greatly diminished. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Joffrey. Next we have Judy Ottman.
I'm just going to hold it like this because I'm way too short for that. Okay. Sorry, everyone. Okay, so
your 5 minutes test.
Okay, thank you. My name is Judy Artman. I live in 14600 Willoughby Road in the Rock Hall Estates community. I have lived there for 24 years now. And I just would like to outline my concerns, and this is intensely personal, but even if it's too late for this project going forward, I really want to be heard about the concerns of somebody who's lived in this neighborhood for many years and observed many changes. So this area was approved to be developed more than 20 years ago, as we've heard. There have been so many changes in this area that I no longer think that a development of this density is appropriate at this time. We've already talked about traffic and flooding, and I want to really focus on the wildlife and things that I just never hear in planning board meetings. It's just like, okay, we kept trees up, but it's beyond just keeping trees up. Here is what I have seen. I would also like to, and I would like to be a voice for the voiceless. So I'm a very keen observer of nature. I live on a 3-acre property. It is lovely out there. It was paradise when I moved here. I have noticed a precipitous decline in the number of pollinators, including butterflies. This has happened even though I have worked very hard to increase the number of native plants on my property. Last time I counted, there were more than 50 pawpaw trees, which is the host plant for the zebra swallowtail. I saw one so far. I used to see 20 or 30 on my plants at any one time, no more. The spring peepers in the creek next door to me used to be so loud that I could hear them in March with my windows closed. Gone from the whole neighborhood. Other frog species, like the tree frogs, much less common. Fireflies and bats do still exist, but in greatly reduced numbers. Birds that used to be common in the neighborhood, like wood thrushes and chimney swifts, they're much reduced. There has also been a big increase in invasive species, such as Japanese stiltgrass, Oriental bittersweet, Bradford pear trees, way more than when I moved in here 24 years ago. So, having said that, if this project moves forward, I would be in favor of reducing the density of the project, which I know is probably not going to happen. Reducing the speed limit on 202, which we've discussed already, but also put in a traffic light camera, speed camera, because that works. Okay, that works. Why do I want this? Not just the traffic, but I want to mitigate the noise. I live in the back of this community, and I still hear traffic sometimes from 202. When you rip down those trees, I know you're saving a lot of them, and I am appreciative of that. Of course, there's a lot of part of that land that's undevelopable, by the way, because it falls off a cliff. So that's why you're saving them. That would help mitigate and absorb some of the noise from the traffic. The more trees you can leave up. And I'm not talking about ripping everything down and then planting a few little sticks, even if they are native trees. So when you talk about the buffer between 202 and the neighborhood, it feels like you're talking about taking down everything and then planting a few sticks. What I was talking about was, leaving as much of the current trees, most of which are native, in place to go back and develop behind them. So that, because that's a generation or more that those trees would take to grow and mitigate the noise. So that's what I was talking about. I'm not really sure that's how it was in the site plan. And of course, we talked about making any plantings native, which is very important. The other thing I want to bring up, and I know I'm running out of time, moving forward, if we are going to develop this region in such an intensive manner, I feel like we need to preserve it for future generations. I've seen what's missing. Okay, so we need to educate and engage citizens about the importance of maintaining natural areas in their yard. Okay, even on small lots, no insects, no birds, right? Doug Tallamy's book, such as Nature's Best Hope, is a great place to start, where even homeowners with small lots or a balcony can make a difference. All right. I feel like we need to make sure our laws are strong enough to protect these delicate ecosystems. I feel like we also need to limit light pollution. There's a lot of light pollution in my neighborhood. We need to regulate chemical, herbicide, and pesticides, both commercial and homeowners, because something is happening to our pollinators. It's not just development. It goes beyond that. And increase rights of way. The equestrians, of which I am one, have basically been pushed out of my neighborhood. I used to ride all over the place there. It's basically gone. And what I've heard from people that I've spoken to in the county, well, we're saving a little space, the rural tier down in Croom. Really? I mean, I just feel like we can do better as a county. We can make this a much more vibrant county if we encourage people. I'm not saying force people. I'm saying educate and encourage people to save what we have left. It is disappearing very, very quickly. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Judy. Next we have Greg Smith.
Good morning, planning board members and planning staff and everybody else in the room. For the record, I'm Greg Smith. Going back to the continuance, the checklist for SEP seems to indicate that ethics affidavits are required. the mailing requirements for SDPs, if I recall correctly, requires persons of record to previous approvals in the previous 10 years to receive informational mailings and acceptance mailings. None of the document, I searched the available documents and for the word affidavit, and nothing turned up. Not either for ethics affidavits or affidavits from the applicant that all parties of record or all entitled parties had been mailed to. So without that information before you, you can't make an informed finding as to whether or not the rules have been followed and whether or not it would make sense to continue. And Mr. Giraldo, I will remind you that with respect to the Suffrage Point and Magruder Points case, I made that point more than once. Each time staff said the rules have been followed until I documented in detail how thoroughly the applicant had failed to comply with the law and how thoroughly staff had failed to require the applicant to comply with the law, to the point that the applicant was compelled to withdraw their application days before the hearing, and the hearing was canceled. I shouldn't have had to do that work. Shouldn't have to do it here. The documents that would be required to do that kind of analysis aren't even in the record. So that's one point. That's one of my objections to your decision not to continue this case. Second, going back to the substance, the merits of the project, the zoning ordinance defines density as dwelling units per acre of net lot area. And it defines net lot area very clearly as gross acres minus any land within the 100-year floodplain and any street, alley, or public way. The density calculation provided here, the density number provided here, does not comply with those definitions at all. It also includes acres that are to be given to park and planning. That's completely inappropriate. They should be dealing with net lot area, and the density calculation should be based on that alone. And I guarantee you the density number will be well above, I believe it will be well above the maximum allowed in the LCD zone, unless there's a provision in the zoning ordinance that exempts development in the LCD zone from those definitions or allows net tract area. But this density calculation appears to be way off the mark, and the density appears to exceed the threshold. Another issue with respect to the floodplain, I did not find the floodplain study in the record. I can't say I did a comprehensive review, but I did find in the site development concept plan a note that the floodplain study here was completed in June of 2018. That precedes the technogram guidance issued by DPI in 2023. It requires floodplain delineations to be based upon a 15% more intense 100-year storm, 8.5 inches versus 7.4, and requires revisions to be made to allow for those more intense storms. I again, couldn't make a thorough search of the record, but couldn't find evidence of that had been done. So your floodplain delineation might be unreliable, and therefore your density calculation might be unreliable. And if you don't know the extent of the floodplain based upon the more current science, then you can't make an informed finding, I think, that all the regulated environmental features will be protected, preserved, or restored to the maximum extent possible, which I think is a required finding here. It was kind of, so it's striking that here we are in 2026. We had the county spend scads of money having a climate change, global warming summit last fall. We have a climate action plan, and yet here you have before you an application to build more than 100 homes, nowhere near public transit. Their floodplain, wetlands, streams, and a watershed that shelters rare, threatened, and endangered fish species. And it's an application where each home will have at least a 2-car garage and maybe a 3-car garage. It's a completely automobile-dependent development. And while climate change is rocking and rolling, the temperature records are being broken across Europe. And that's what's coming to the United States once El Nino fully cranks up. So there are so many defects here, and the public has been denied an opportunity to review a full record, provide you with fully informed comments so you can make a fully informed decision based upon a robust evidentiary record. None of that is happening here, and I think in that respect, you're falling short of your responsibilities, and you're waiving your own right to receive the best available, the best comments, the best facts, and the best analysis from the affected public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Do we have any question for the speakers from the planning board? I see none. Ms. Antoinette, time for a vote.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Just briefly, I appreciate the comments that were raised. I don't agree with all of them, as you can understand. With regards to grandfathering this history, I mean, this site is in the Legacy Comprehensive Design Zone. I mean, Legacy is in its name. It is built upon the prior zone, the prior comprehensive design zones, and the conditions of approval and the entitlements that those conditions came from. So, this is a grandfathered project in that sense. So we are utilizing the prior code and prior approvals to the fullest extent allowed by law. So that is appropriate here. In terms of transportation, again, I've already spoken to this, but we have transportation conditions that we are adhering to. I will say that we have dedicated frontage along both sides of 202 pursuant to the platting process. We are also providing, and we're in design right now with State Highway for acceleration and deceleration lanes on each side of the road, as well as a left turn lane heading both into the east side and west side of this project. So that'll be provided. In terms of density, we are following the density that's provided. I completely disagree with that. We're about 0.82 based on the net tract area, not the gross. That is not correct. I will point again, 105 acres have been given to the Parks Department as part of this process and the subdivision. That was part of the conveyance and part of the consideration for this project. It does create a very large green envelope around this property. I believe all of the floodplain associated with the land area of this project is on the park and planning property. We have obtained the site development concept plan, which was vetted utilizing the county and state requirements, and it was approved by the county. We also have an approved NRI, which reflects the floodplain. While I'm sensitive and to downstream concerns, we are doing our best to design features that meet current requirements. And the features have been designed to accommodate the 100-year flood events as required by ordinance and regulation. So we think that has been addressed. In regards to affidavits have been submitted as part of this application. They're in the record of this case. That can't be said enough. I do not agree with the assertion by Mr. Smith that there's not a robust record. There is a record. We put that very carefully. We compiled that. We were vetted and reviewed by Park and Planning on numerous occasions. The pre-application process is incredibly robust and thorough. Those were submitted timely, in addition to any other information, timely. So I disagree with that. Persons of records, we get our list of parties of record as well as adjacent property owners from the commission. We've executed upon that list and submitted all the required notifications. Affidavits for the posting and mailings were submitted as part of the application materials here. So I disagree with the record being incomplete, and we've done everything from a documentation standpoint to perfect that record. So with that, I do appreciate the community's comments. I do appreciate from the 202 corridor the comments, and I'm certainly willing to engage and discuss further comments they have and questions about this development, the timing of it, the impacts it may have. Because we want to be good neighbors. We're not here to be adversarial. Again, this has a long history. It's been on the books for a long, long time. We are before you stating that this STP does meet all the requirements, and we pursuant to the zoning ordinance and other appropriate regulations and conditions. So with that, I would respectfully request your approval of this application, and if you have any questions of me, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to ask Ms. Atman, your question get addressed about the speed lights, the cameras?
Yes. Has it been addressed?
Yes.
I mean, I don't remember you talking about speed cameras?
The speed lights and all.
Okay, say that again.
So I will say, just for the record for everyone, that that's kind of outside of the scope, but Mr. Antonetti is absolutely welcome to address it.
Yeah.
Apologies for the interruption.
Okay, I didn't hear you saying anything. Did you say something?
I did very briefly in my opening presentation that we certainly support any traffic control measures that the county finds appropriate, because we believe safe speeds are a good ingredient for safe communities. So we don't disagree with that, but we're not providing any here. That's beyond our control.
That's what I thought you said. So, yes, what about, so now that I hear the turn lanes, it makes me a little nervous as bike riders up and down that road. Are there going to be any provisions made for, I mean, it is actually.
That's going to be time for your group to.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Just for the record, Ms. Artman is permitted to have reasonable cross-examination if that's what she's trying to do. I'm not sure, but
I have two questions. One is, if we are going to put in turn lanes, are we going to have any mitigation or any road, paint for bike riders? Because right now we use the shoulder, and so I'm assuming that if you're going to put in a turn lane, the shoulder will be taken out or be used as a turn lane. The shoulders are actually right now quite wide on 202, so that would be one question. And the other one is, I'm not really sure I understand the buffer of trees between 202 and the new housing development. Is it going to be all torn down and then small plants put in, or is the existing forest going to be preserved as much as possible, which is what I have wanted or asked for? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Artman. With regards to the trees, I'll start with that.
Okay.
We're going to preserve as many as possible, a significant amount of trees along the tree line, because those mature trees along 202, yes. Where we have to plant a buffer, where there is some clearing to allow entrance into the site, and for the installation of the wall, those will be planted, all native species within that width buffer. But the majority of it, I think, a significant portion of the existing trees along that on either side will remain. And there was another question I forgot.
The
bike lane. I'm sorry. With regards, we are in design with State Highway regarding it is their right of way. So to the extent there will be shoulders that will still be provided, to the extent the State Highway is part of their design requests us to do any striping within that paved right of way, we certainly will provide that. So it may either be a continuation of a similar shoulder situation that'll be provided, or a painted bike lane if State Highway requires. But we're in the beginnings of that design process with State Highway, and we can certainly continue to keep in communication with you, because I know that's an important issue too. You're welcome.
All right, thank you. I will now call the opponents to now summarize their testimony.
I think it's important, again, for the planning board to look at the short-term and the long-term picture relative to development along this 202 corridor from Watkins Park Drive into the town of Upper Marlboro. This Oakwood Preserve application, formerly the Forest Hills subdivision, started. Beginnings of that go back to the early 1990s. It's only recently, in the last 18 months, that the new developers move forward to initiate final steps for consideration of construction on the site. As the Route 202 Coalition, we strongly advocate that if this application is approved, that the oversight for construction of this site, of this new subdivision, be looked at with a fine-tooth comb, particularly with the environmental aspects in view. That's so very important. Transportation is one issue, traffic's going to be there. It's going to get a lot worse. And for many of us who travel the 202 corridor on a regular basis, you know traffic can be a nightmare. Okay? I just think at this particular juncture, as a planning board, look at the short and long-term picture. Just finally, two points. The first brought up by my neighbor, Jody, who lives at Brock Hall Estates, and so too does that matter. For that matter, does Judith Artman. Brock Hall Estates, really primo upscale development, okay, has septic tanks. So the question is, what is the impact? What will be the impact on that subdivision relative to future construction and living at Oakwood Preserve? So that's the first question or inquiry. But the second, I live at the Brock Hills subdivision, which is approximately a half mile from the start of Oakwood Preserves. Oakwood Preserves, again, Route 202 and Kent Drive, about 2,200 feet beyond Kent Drive. I did not receive, my wife and I and my neighbors at the subdivision had not received notice, okay, having to do with this application in any way, shape, or form. Jody lives about a quarter mile from the start, less than that. And so we're bringing that, that matter of observation to your attention. Thank you for this opportunity, and we look forward to hearing your final disposition.
Thank you very much. I would now call the applicant's attorney to make their brief summation.
Thank you. Just in a brief response, in terms of the septic system, this community will be on public water and sewer, so it won't be on septic system, so we won't be. There'll be no impact on your.
You're an attorney, not an environmental engineer.
I'm not an environmental engineer, but we'll be on public water and sewer. So with regards to that, there should be no impact coming from the site septic. With regards to that, in regards to notice, again, we get our list, our mailing list. It's properties that are very close to the property in question. So if you're a quarter mile away,
I don't mean to interrupt, but I'm on Kent and Brock, and that is less than a quarter mile.
Excuse me, so at this point we are at summation in the hearing. So that's just simply the applicant's attorney providing a summary of the testimony that has occurred thus far.
So with regards to notice, I stand by my prior statements that we send out mailings according to the list that was provided by Park and Planning. We have posted the site. The site's been posted for 30 days. We also have had some outreach with neighbors. I believe Mr. Collins has had some communication with our land use consultant, Mr. Ricker, and we're certainly willing to continue the discussion to answer any outstanding questions that the community may have as we grow on the site to address concerns. So we agree. I appreciate their comments, and I agree with moving forward, finding a way to continue communication, and we will certainly look to do that as the applicant. We thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you very much. The hearing is now closed. Board members, any deliberation, any questions for our call for your pleasure?
None.
If not, what is your pleasure?
So, Mr. Vice Chair, I understand the concerns of the community, and sometimes development is always hard. Where I live in Fort Washington, we have similar situations with the flooding. That's an area where it's Department of Preventive Inspection deal with any type of flooding. And I'm familiar with the floods that occurred in Upper Marlboro since I go to the court up there, and I know that there were many court records, and there's been a lot of work done on that. With regards to notice, if somebody hasn't gotten notice, then what you should probably do is meet with our staff and give them your addresses so you're on, so you'll be notified on anything future. And I encourage the applicant to continue to work with the community to try to develop this community that's a win-win for both. So with that, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and approve SDP 2025-0014 and TCP 2-2026-0037, subject to the conditions recommended in the technical staff report.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Gerardo and a second by Commissioner Jenkins. I will now call the roll. Commissioner Gerardo?
I vote aye.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews?
I vote aye.
And I vote aye as well. And the ayes will have it.
And Mr. Collins, if you're that concerned with that property that they're trying to get zoned or rezoned for industrial, I encourage you strongly that you approach the council on that, because they have the ultimate authority in terms of what the zone would be.
Mr. Gerardo, understood, and we are in ongoing contact with Council Member Daniel Hunter, and previous to that, Council Member Walla Brigade. We also are fully aware that Total Civil Construction owner Greg DeWeese has been meeting in the recent past with the planning department, looking at the possibility of that rezoning, as evidenced by, at that time, a year ago, Council Member Brigade, District 6 representative, informing me, okay, of that fact, basically confirming what was stated to me by Board Chair Shapiro at the point when I was providing my graduation presentation as a member of the 2025 Neighborhood Planning Academy cohort. He pulled, as I was about to make the presentation, Shapiro pulled me to the side and said, you can't speak on it because this matter, and I forget the legal term, but that since it was before the planning board, they couldn't discuss it. So we are aware of what's going on, and we'll continue to work through Councilmember Hunter.
So that's, and the council ultimately has a responsibility for the zoning. And so that's why I'm encouraging that if the community is that much opposed to it and is concerned about it, that meet with the council.
Yeah. And finally, that zoning issue for the change to industrial for that site, it doesn't meet the two criteria for a change in zoning. It would have to be approved, bypassed for approval to the district council.
Which is the county council.
Yes, sir.
All right. All right, before we go to the next item, I would like to take a 5-minute break. All right, we're we're back from a 5-minute break, just a little more than 5 minutes. The next item on the agenda is item number 8, Office of the Planning Director, Legislative Drafting, Request LDR-132-2026. We will now hear from staff who will present this item. Ms. Gomez.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Vice Chair and members of the Planning Board. This is Natalia Gomez with the Planning Director's Office presenting Legislative Drafting Request LDR 132-2026. Next slide, please. So this bill proposes to amend the zoning ordinance to increase the maximum permitted height of building-mounted signs within the industrial employment and industrial employment plan development zones from 18 inches to 42 inches. Next slide, please. The purpose of this bill is to improve business visibility for industrial and employment uses located on sites that do not directly front a public street. The proposed bill also addresses the concern regarding minimizing sign pollution in light industrial zones with the need of increased visibility. And we noticed that this amendment is limited in scope since it only applies to building mounted signs within 2 specific zones, which is the industrial employment and industrial plan development zones, and therefore it is unlikely to generate significant adverse impacts on adjacent residential or commercial properties. Next slide, please. So the department is in agreement with what the bill is proposing. We are just suggesting an additional amendment to the table that dictates the standards for specific sign types. The amendment the bill is specifically introducing is in the bottom sentence that you see for height of sign in the bottom of the table. We are proposing an additional amendment in the location category. And it's basically just to have consistency in all with the other location description that we have in the table. It's basically just for reading, for an easy interpretation of the ordinance and consistency purposes. Next slide, please. And with that amendment and the analysis policy I presented, the department recommends the planning board adopt the findings of the staff report and support LDR 132 with the amendments presented. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any question for planning staff member?
I have none.
No.
I see none.
At this point, you can ask for discussion or a motion.
All right. I see no question. Do we have a motion?
Mr. Vice Chair, I move that we adopt the findings of staff and support LDR 132-2026 with amendments as set forth in the staff report.
A second.
All right. We have a motion by Commissioner Gerardo, a second by Commissioner Matthews. I want to call the roll. Commissioner Gerardo.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Matthews.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Jenkins.
Vote aye.
And I vote aye as well. And the ayes will have it. The last. The next item is item 5. Detailed site plan TSP-2025-0036. Mill Branch Crossing. We'll now hear from staff who will present this item. Mr. Dexter.
Good morning, Vice Chair and members of the Planning Board. For the record, I am Dexter Cofield with the Urban Design Section. Item number 5 is detailed site plan DSP-2025-0036 Mill Branch Crossing, Arby's. The detailed site plan is for development of a 1,910 square foot eating and drinking establishment with drive-through service on the east side of US 301 Robert Creighton Highway, approximately 200 feet north of its intersection with Mill Branch Road. The applicable criteria for approval and associated findings have been presented in the technical staff report. But prior to the Tuesday noon deadline, the applicant submitted additional material. The submitted material identified as applicant's exhibit 1 Propose the revision of recommended conditions 1A, 1C, 1E, and discussion of finding found on page 24 within the technical staff report.
Can you repeat that, please? I'm sorry.
Okay, sure. Prior to the Tuesday noon deadline, the applicant submitted additional material. The submitted material identified as applicant's exhibit 1 proposes the revision of recommended conditions 1A, 1C, 1E, and discussion of finding found on page 24 within the technical staff report. As for condition 1A, staff does not support the applicant's proposal to delete condition 1A, as reserved online ordering parking signage details are provided in the plan submitted, and this condition includes designating where the associated parking with that signage will be located. As for condition 1C, staff understands the applicant's concern regarding condition 1C and recommends revising the condition to read, label the remainder of outlot C6A as a new outlot or parcel as applicable to be platted along the proposed parcel 6. As for condition 1E, staff does not support the deletion of condition 1E as the 12-foot shared use path has not yet been constructed and should therefore be shown as proposed. It is currently shown on the plans as existing. Finally, regarding the discussion of finding found on page 24 of the staff report, staff agreed that the findings should be revised to reflect the requirement has been satisfied. So based on the evaluation analysis, urban design staff recommended the planning board adopt the findings and approve detailed site plan DSP-2025-0036, subject to the recommended conditions of approval in the technical staff report, with revised language of condition 1C and finding on page 24 as provided by staff. This concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caulfield. Any question for staff from planning board?
None.
I see none. Next, we'll hear from the applicant's attorney.
So this one is an evidentiary hearing. All those intending to speak on this matter, please stand and be sworn in. So do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
Want me to swear as well?
You as well, yes, attorneys as well. So do you swear or affirm to tell the truth?
I do.
Great.
In a past life, I was actually accustomed to administering that, so I know it well. First of all, a matter of personal privilege, two matters of personal privilege. First of all, I would like to thank staff and the board for accommodating my scheduling conflict this morning. So thank you very much. I appreciate your moving me to the end of the agenda. That's the first thing. The second item, I'd just like to express my thanks and appreciation and how much I've enjoyed working with Commissioner Geraldo over the course of his many years on the planning board. And I will say he has certainly, over those years, given me a true appreciation for the importance of dog stations and everything. So I wanted to thank him very much. I wish him all the best. A little known fact, Commissioner and I both attended the same high school in Washington.
Well, actually, it was my children.
Oh, your children, excuse me.
Both children.
I apologize. Good decision on you, Buck.
It was.
Sent it to St. John's College High School. Thank you very much. Well, good to be here today. Edward Gibbs, an attorney with offices in Largo, and I'm representing the applicant in this case, Mill Branch Sandwiches, and Mr. This back there, Forrest Lander, also his civil engineer, Tim Longfellow from GLW is with us as well. I don't anticipate they're going to have to say anything. And I think this can be covered in short order. I do want to say a few words. I also represent Green Branch LLC, which is entirely really owned by Mr. William F. Chesley. This is his project. Mill Branch Crossing is his project. He's been working on it for years. It's not just a couple of commercial sites as have recently been brought before the planning board, but it's a much larger project that was approved and actually filed before the new zoning ordinance even became effective. And so that's the reason why we're continuing to use the prior zoning ordinance as we go through each of these processes here. But it was approved for over 400 multifamily units, around 200 townhomes, and 77,000 square feet and change of commercial retail uses. The commercial pad sites were labeled as outlots on the original overall detailed site plan, And that's why we have this sort of strange labeling here. We're coming in as outlots and we're changing them, and then we have to replat them to create real buildable parcels after we finish the detailed site plan process. But anyhow, this particular application deals with a part of Outlot 6 for this particular use. I do want to note that we went before the advisory planning board of the city of Bowie. They recommended approval. Then we made a presentation to the mayor and city council of Bowie. They also have recommended approval of the application. Their letter is in the record in this case. So we've also been in contact. You know, it's funny, as you have with these mixed-use cases, as you complete part of the project and folks move in, then you have new people who become interested in what's occurring. And so a lot of the townhomes are now beginning to be sold and occupied, and we have interest and questions that come up from residents, and we have had outreach to them as well. So with that being said, we're here today just on this single application for an eating and drinking establishment with drive-through service. We have had conversations with staff. We submitted a letter addressing issues that we felt were a concern. We have largely, through conversations since I filed that letter, been able to resolve our concerns. And so we appreciate the staff agreeing to reword the finding at the end that we talked about in our letter. We find ourselves in the position of being at one with the new position, as we've had conversations with the staff, with the exception of condition 1A, because inadvertently, the detailed site plan package had some depictions of signs that said parking for online order pickup. When the condition came out, which staff naturally included, given their reliance on those signs that were in the package, they said, show us where the online parking spaces are going to be. When I spoke with my client, he indicated he doesn't allocate those spaces on site. They either come through the drive-through window or they just park in a normal space and walk in. And so he wasn't going to have that. But staff had correctly identified the fact that signs indicating that were on the plan. But we're not going to have those spaces. So what we're proposing is that condition 1A now be revised to simply read, revise the plans to remove all signs referencing online ordering parking spaces. So that accomplishes the same objective as the original condition. We're just not going to have designated. And quite frankly, not all restaurants have designated spaces. Some do, some don't. Some within the same brand at different locations do and don't. This location is not going to have designated spaces for that. And for that reason, I'd like to have that revised language for condition 1A added. The remaining changes we've discussed with staff, and we're good with that. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be here today, and happy to answer any questions.
So the question I have is, so do you want, what you're looking for is revised language in 1A as opposed to just...
Correct. The language would be revise the plans to remove all signs referencing online ordering parking spaces, because that's what created the confusion. We somehow left those designations on the plans when the applicant never intended to have designated spaces. It's a simple fix. And so we're just going to remove those designations in the plans. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you. I see no other question. The hearing is not closed. No. All right, so we have a motion.
I move that we adopt the findings of staff with the revisions read into the record by staff and approve DSP 2025-0036, subject to the conditions recommended in the technical staff report, as amended to condition 1C as read into the record by staff, and condition removal of condition 1A, since there will be no signs designating for online ordering.
Commissioner Geraldo?
Yes.
Just one thing, for condition 1A, there was, instead of removal, Mr. Gibbs had requested a new condition 1A, which he read into the record, so more replacement than removal, correct?
Okay. I stand corrected.
Okay. So we have do we have a second?
A second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Gerardo and a second by Commissioner Matthews. When I call the roll, Commissioner Gerardo,
I vote aye.
Commissioner Jenkins,
I vote aye.
Commissioner Matthews,
I vote aye.
and I vote aye as well. And this concludes all items on today's agenda. I want to thank all staff and the public for your patience, and Mr. Gibbs, thank you for getting the last one. All right, the meeting is now adjourned.